Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Fulmer, and this is my N642 Healthcare Technology Informatics final presentation. It is Roe v. Wade versus the App Store. Okay, so Roe v. Wade was overturned on June 24th, 2022, in the Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, the U.S. Supreme Court, which overturned 50 years of precedence in a landmark case. What happened after this is that it instantly led to trigger laws banning abortion in almost half of the United States. So my question here is, what implications does this have for healthcare regarding medical apps, specifically like menstruation tracking apps and individual consumers? So there are laws to protect us, right? So according to Laurie Andrews, director of the Institute of Science, Technology, Law and Technology, and also an emeritus professor at Chicago Kent College of Law, her research article looked specifically at medical apps, and they found that 70% shared users' sensitive information with third-party data aggregators without the user's knowledge or consent. Andrew continues to state that both HIPAA and common law privacy torts, like civil law, do not cover users' health information in medical apps. And providers are also now recommending health apps to their patients, so this presents a concerning issue for us to look at. So right now, there's about 54,000 medical apps on the Google Play Store, and there's another 41,000 on Apple. And there are even more like lifestyle apps, which are easily just health information that are given that aren't necessarily medical, but are like ways to like track your weight or how many miles did you run, etc. And a lot of these apps allow consumers to diagnose, monitor, manage, and treat and prevent health problems. But there is a catch with these, terms and conditions may apply. So medical data apps collect collection of information on consumers. So Andrews looked at these apps and let's just say like a consumer wants to download a flow period tracking app, and then the app's scope of information that they're able to collect off of individuals is very broad. So it can collect people's users' information, their actions, their mood, even their sex life, and even their responses to treatment. And most often, this information is collected without the user's knowledge or consent. In addition to the other information, these apps can access online in-store purchases, your media use, where you're going, tracking your GPS, and it's a lot more information than any type of doctor's note that I could ever generate by sitting with a patient and asking them personal questions, right? So why is this? The reason why that a medical app may collect all this information, right? So some apps will be able to monitor how a patient is walking, how their voice pattern changes, and then they can help diagnose if this person is having a flu, a stroke, or Huntington's disease. It may not be accurate, but they can sell this to advertisers so that they can generate targeted ads to these individuals. So if they think a person's coming down with the flu, they're probably going to send it to Target, and their Target's now sending you ads on cough drops, cough syrup, and tea. Okay, and these third parties know that this is a lucrative enterprise, and they buy a lot of this aggregated data. Okay, and Andrews also found that a person's medical information fetches 50 times the price of credit card information on the black market. So clearly there's a very huge incentive for these types of medical apps that collect personal health information. And we understand, right? I just want to count my steps. It's not like I'm getting crazy here, okay? Just use like a Fitbit here, right? It's not like they're going to convict me of murder or something. Wrong. They actually did use the Fitbit to convict a person of murder. So a grandfather was convicted of murdering his granddaughter because her granddaughter had a Fitbit attached to her wrist that showed her heartbeat stopping at the same time that the grandfather was at the home when he allegedly said that he left. And so because they were used to use that as evidence in the criminal case, they're able to convict him. Now, couple that with Roe v. Wade being overturned, medical providers and patients are now at risk of being convicted for abortions, and these medical apps could be used to corroborate this type of evidence to convict individuals. So we need to think about the Flow app, which tracks menstruations of individuals, has over 43 million active users. And then another app, Clue, has another 12 million monthly users. And since there's presently no laws to protect an individual consumer, this data could be used to infer that a person has thought about or is considering to have an abortion, and then criminal charges could be brought up against these individuals. So let's just expand HIPAA. Easy enough, right? We already have it. Just include medical apps. Simply done, right? They actually tried this in 2 different states. So Texas, they also include HIPAA within medical apps, but they made a caveat that the medical apps can still sell your information. They just have to remove the identifiable information. California, it was even more robust, expanding HIPAA into that, but the apps then just change their quote to be like, oh, we're just for entertainment purposes. Like you see this little guy up here. So that tracks how much water you're drinking. And every time you drink, it gives you a little game code. And then you get to grow a little plant because you're drinking and hydrating yourself. And so we now need to think about these period tracking apps where states are abortion is illegal, that these apps and information, they have to give over this information any type of any criminal charge, and not have any protection for an individual to really prevent them from defending themselves. So explicit laws to protect us all. Andrews, she stated that there needs to be a tough rule to address medical apps malfeasance, and she said there's a ban on disclosure information for medical apps. She said apps should not share any type of information with data aggregators, marketers, or third parties besides the user's explicit requests. The user's designated healthcare providers. So can we get on board? You just waited 3 minutes to download the app, and now you want me to read a bunch of legal jargon. People don't do it. And Andrews also points out that there's a similar law in place right now with the Americans Disability Acts. Employers can't obtain any medical information prior to offering employment, so medical apps will continue to grow. They're going to provide users with a fraction of medical help compared to the app developers' gains in selling their user data to the highest bidder. We could include this apps in like a regulated body like the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the Office of National Coordinating of Health Informatics and Technology. However, we still need laws in place for a federal agency to enforce or to follow up with different medical apps. So it's pretty precarious. We need to inform our consumers and be a conscientious medical app consumer. And thank you all. And here's my data, or references, excuse me. Reference. Goodbye.